Delighted to welcome Figen Murray back to the studio. Figen, you will know, is the mother of Martyn Hett, who died in the terror attack at Manchester Arena. But as Figen explained to us when we first met, you were determined that some good would come out of this tragedy, this bad. And I suppose in that context, Monday was a pretty good day for you.
It was, yeah. I was delighted to hear the news, yeah.
So what exactly is Martyn's Law?
So Martyn's Law is basically a recommendation to the government to put legislation in place to make venues where people go for entertainment to be safe.
To do proper checks and to look for specific and unspecific potential problems.
Yeah, and it's really very simple, and it literally has just 5 components. It's the simplicity of Martyn's Law that is actually quite important to point out. It's nothing where it requires massive amounts of money, etc.
Yes.
So basically, number one is that venue organisers, event organisers train their staff in free of charge counter-terrorism measures,
yes.
and it literally is a 45-minute online e-learning package by ACT,
yes.
Which is Action for Counter-Terrorism.
Yes.
So it's open to the general public. Anyone can do it, and
but we need it to be compulsory for the staff in the venues.
Absolutely.
So that's easy to do.
45 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be part of an induction program, really. And number 2 is that any venue, large or small, even the tiniest pub can do that, to go around the building and do a risk assessment in terms of vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Number 3 is that the vulnerabilities identified are mitigated as much as possible. And that could be in a small pub, maybe locking a door or putting an extra camera in, that sort of stuff.
I know you're only halfway through, but just to help people fully understand in the time that we have, what you're essentially doing is adding terrorism or seeking to add terror attacks to the list of things that venues are already required to address and seek to prevent.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's no blame or anger here.
No.
We are going to learn from what happened.
Yes.
To Martyn.
Yeah.
That's
learning
the point.
has to happen.
Exactly that. So checks and metal detect, that kind of thing as well?
Yeah, in bigger venues. What is really important is because initially the criticism was it's going to cost a lot of money, you're going to make smaller places bankrupt. That's all not the case, because it would be the measures put in place are proportionate to the venue. So bigger venues obviously would have to do bigger checks. But it's about making sure that people have a terrorism action plan in place, and for bigger venues that they work together in conjunction with local authorities.
It's a shame there's so many examples to draw on in highlighting the importance and indeed the relevance of Martyn's Law. But we talk about a pub not needing the same level of security. The O2 Arena, I was there on Saturday night, actually. That's a really great example of what can be done, isn't it? The O2 is incredibly well protected, including measures to stop vehicle attacks. So no one's suggesting a pub would need the same level of security, but if we cast our minds back to Borough Market in 2017, the idea that a landlady or a landlord or a manager would have a full knowledge of how to protect customers when there's an attack outside, that kind of thing can be done.
Absolutely. And also members of the public, because I read at the Streatham attack that there was a young lady running and she said to the person next to her, "Am I doing the right thing?" The general public needs to know what to do if there was an attack.
Yes.
Because
yes, of course.
They attack randomly. It can happen to any of us.
It is, I suppose, an occupational hazard now of living in major cities, whether we like that or not. The idea that we shouldn't be as fully prepared as we possibly can be it's palpably absurd. And what about St. Paul's? Would that fall? Because this announcement came on Monday. On Friday, there was that conviction of the woman who wanted to take a bomb into St. Paul's Cathedral and blow it up. So again, you'd want more in anywhere where the public congregate
absolutely,
or visit.
Museums, anything like that, It's just basic measures.
I'm not a big fan of this government, but they've moved pretty quickly and pretty comprehensively on this. It's very important to give credit where it's due. James Brokenshire has made no qualms, no quibbles. This is important. It needs to be done, and we're now going to start the consultation process, which should conclude with most of what you're asking for being put on the statute book. Well done.
Definitely. Thank you.
I mean, you must be chuffed, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, we're not there yet, obviously.
I know,
but,
and we will
know,
both keep a very close eye on proceedings.
Yeah, but it's definitely moving in the right direction.
How are you, otherwise?
First of all, really grateful to the government that they're doing this finally and initiating it. But otherwise, obviously, I'm busy doing my course at uni. I'm studying counter-terrorism as a master's.
Yes, I remember.
To try and understand everything better. Other than that, I go to court at the moment. Obviously, the court case is on, which that's quite difficult to deal with.
I'm
but
sure it is.
We knew that at the beginning of the year that it's going to just be a difficult year.
Yes.
Because shortly after the court, there'll be the public inquiry. So it's just a difficult year this year. Other than that, I continue working at schools and talking to young people about the dangers of mainly online radicalisation.
I don't want you to go, Figen, without talking about Martyn a bit. I hope that's not inappropriate. For you, but you know, this is work that you are doing in his memory, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want him to have gone without leaving some kind of legacy, and I hope Martyn's law will do that justice. I don't know what he'd make of all of that.
Well, I can't help wondering, because the little that those of us who didn't know him personally learnt about him in the aftermath of the tragedy. I mean, one imagines he'd find some way to turn it all into an enormous joke, wouldn't he? The idea of having a law named after him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. He'd see the funny side of it. Totally.
And that is, I suppose, a testament to why he touched so many lives while he was alive, isn't it? It's one of those things.